Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I want to talk about how to fool people into a false reality. A lot of what we have isn't necessary, yet we still believe that we need them all. A lot of automation and mechanization has happened in the past few decades. We have seen tremendous changes in cities, especially. We haven't even had the time to question these changes. And of course, this is costing us a lot more than what we intended to. Let's look at the major changes and try to see how we have fooled ourselves into thinking we need more than we already have. Life was simple a long time ago, where smartphones didn't exist. Smartphones are world into themselves, aren't they? You have a unique relationship with the smartphone that you carry in your back pocket. It has become so personal to each one of us. There is every information we need in it, and even more. We cannot live without it. It's really impossible these days to live without a smartphone. Can you believe that? It's good in some ways. We can now educate ourselves in whatever we want. We can also learn about anything, but it has stolen our ability to be practical, to enjoy a trip to the supermarket and feel fresh greens. We opt instead to get them all delivered. A lot of us do a lot of things not because it is necessary, but because it is convenient and easy to do that. To accomplish a task that can conveniently be done is actually preferred by a lot of us. Now, that accomplishing a task that is rewarding or necessary, necessities are different from desires. Earlier, I had talked about mimicking desires, which are desires that are given to us by the society. These desires are really not necessary at all. They are created by the businessmen and the large corporate companies and sold to us for the growth of their own industries. The large conglomerates, they mold the reality that we live in, and they have been doing it since a long time. Of course, the religions have been doing it too. Whomever stays in power has the ability to control a small figment of your mind, and people like to have control, especially adults who have encountered a more profounder emotion called power. A great philosopher once attributed this will to power and called it will to power as the highest will of man, as the character that defines a man's life and which steers a man's life. People argued that this is not the case, but it is the case in a lot of people. The famous actors that we see on the television screen, the priests, and on the newspapers, the politicians define a huge chunk of what the youth is going to desire. The latest movie that was directed using the great action sequences and hypnotic, almost blinding scenes to reel in the audience and grasp their attention leaves imprints on your minds that takes back a desire to be like that action hero. In some ways, the small advertisement runs over and over again, conditioning your mind to blindly grab that product in the supermarket. Everything that you think you desire is not your necessity, and sometimes we are so blind we don't see our necessities. We see only that which we desire. A man toils day in and day out, and a huge cost of his mental health and physical health. He does that to achieve his goals, his desire to have a certain tag before his name. Being happy is what is necessary, is a skill, a great skill to be learned in the midst of the fiery youth. To learn to let go of what you desire and to be content with working for your necessities is a step towards seeing the truth. It is a light step towards unclouding your mind to be able to see the truth as it is. To see people as they are and to understand the state of the world as it is. With such an understanding and practicalization of such an understanding also comes great intelligence, which sees reality without the obscuration of other people's desires. So, how do you fool people into believing in a false reality? Look at all the dictators of the past. Look at the cults and the religions and the organizations. Look at look at what products you use on a day-to-day basis. Look at the price tag. Look at the bright, shining lights in a supermarket. Look at the smiling, beautiful people in the advertisements. Look at the endless emails you receive in your inbox. Look at the people you have followed. Look at their degrees. Look at the education, the books you have read. Look at the people who have told you that you need these clothes, these accessories, these sweet, mesmerizing, almost hypnotizing things. And look how you have been fooled or simply get a marketing degree. Not everybody is capable of fooling people into false realities because it requires courage to be bad, to hurt others, to rob others' rights, to make them blind. It requires a cunningness and an attitude to look at the childlike expression of the person you have just fooled and be with that memory, knowing that you have crushed that child, that innocent, ignorant person. The older people are always doing that to the young, especially one of your parents who assumes life to be a power game. A lot of the middle-aged people, especially after 25, try to seek this position where they are putting themselves above, trying to rule the young by manipulating the knowledge, the fact, the desires, the truth. The rule of the game is simple. If you are not ruling somebody else is going to rule you. And the root of this whole game is desire to control, to make people do what you want them to do. This desire to control comes from helplessness and extreme rejection of some kind. And often this cycle continues. Among those who have been in the cycle, the son tries to control the father, who once tried to control him. The wife does the same to the husband, the colleague, and the co-worker will crush the boss when the time is right. The psychological consequences of such games are wrathful. It is very tempting to want to watch your enemy being crushed and be helpless to suppress the enemy who once remarked slyly at you. But the consequences of such an action will only perpetuate a violent cycle, a cycle we have all been part of. The religious leaders never have good intentions either. They wouldn't rely on fame and gain or spreading an ideology in the name of truth. If they saw reality as it was, they wouldn't harm people by diving them into religions. You will also find some will preach goodness, but inwardly their faces are completely different. They know that they have known the truth and they now have nothing left to understand. Hence they play the power game, the money game. It gets them followers and they count their followers before they sleep. They count their conversions and validate their own egos to feel good about themselves. In reality, truth is never known through the intellect, through prayers and through rituals, through yoga poses. They all have a utility to them, a catch, a psychological satisfaction, but they have been taught to you by those who are in power, by those who impose and rule. Every animal evidently has this hierarchical nature to their life. Scorpions and chimpanzees try to one up themselves especially the middle-aged ones, the young ones who are now puffing with pride of mature realizations about life. Beyond these animalistic tendencies of domination and suppression, beyond the falsities and manipulation, beyond the desires of all kind, there is the highest realm of consciousness and intelligence. It is the true greatness, the real truth, which will never be conveyed by speeches, in books, in organization, in YouTube videos, in communities, in the deep recesses of a dark cave of death, where everything you ever wanted is futile and unacceptable. That is where it lies, the naked reality.